Chicago. Now you can see that we have quite a bit to cover in our virtual tour as we're talking about Chicago's first Ferris wheel in film. So I am going to divide this virtual tour into sections today, starting with the beginnings, kind of the who, where, what, and why. Like, why is this Ferris wheel here? Who is behind it and how did it get there? And then we're going to look at section number 2, which is looking at the Ferris wheel specifically at the fair itself. Through some pictures, we'll talk about some stats, things like the cost to ride this monstrosity in 1893. Third, we're going to talk about riding the wheel itself, and we're going to use that virtual reality project by the Chicago History Museum, and I'll put a link in the Facebook comments here so that you can check this out on your own a little bit further. And then fourthly, we're going to talk about what happens to this Ferris wheel after the fair closes down in October of 1893, where it goes from Chicago, and the fact that, is it still around? Is any part of it still around? We'll answer that question as well. Okay, so let's start then at the beginning and Chicago's first Ferris wheel in film. So we're talking about the first Ferris wheel, obviously, from the title of today's virtual tour. You will see this picture several times. You might as well get used to it. So this is considered, generally speaking, the first Ferris wheel. Now, before that, there have been pleasure wheels. I have a couple of renderings of those. Some even date back, some scholars suggest, the 17th century. Now, this is, as you can see, perhaps on the far left-hand side of your screen, a big wooden rotating kind of wheel-like structure where you do have some passengers that are riding in little wooden seats or chairs perhaps, that are suspended from these large wooden rings, and the wheels would have been turned by really strong men standing down there at the base of this contraption. And you can see that a little bit perhaps clearer in the picture on the right, toward the left-hand side of that, where you have these people sort of suspended in chairs. But here, what we're talking about is a very different story. This is a groundbreaking engineering and mechanical marvel. So we're not talking about physical strength used to power this thing. We're talking about mechanics. And it debuted, as I had mentioned already, at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair.